manufacturer in South Carolina. So I've brought together some components that make up a blend that I understand performs pretty well in this shop, and it performs pretty well for us across the country. Star of the East.
Oh yeah.
So it's a classic Virginia blend, 50% Latakia, some stove red Virginia, and some Oriental. And I've brought these components straight for us to sample individually while I put them together into a blend. I'm going to start with the Oriental. So I think everybody was told, bring along a pipe that you can smoke Virginia in. Oriental will not leave any sort of a ghost behind, so we're going to start with this because he's very, very mild. Anybody that brought a pipe and wants to try, let's start off passing around some jars of the Oriental. Everybody feel free to pack up a pipe.
I can't do that in film.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to film and pack a pipe.
So Star of the East is one of my favorites.
Oh, awesome. That's great. That's great. How many of you guys have smoked straight Oriental tobacco before?
That's one I haven't.
So Oriental is a really, really interesting leaf. It's actually probably my favorite component that we use.
John, you want to give me a little in there?
Because
So I'm
Oriental
recording.
tobacco grows in a region, in an area, in a climate that no one would ever think tobacco would grow in. High desert. This is a very arid area of Turkey and the surrounding region. It's a hard climate for a lot of plants to grow in, and Oriental has really stood up to the harshness of the climate. The fact that there's not much rainfall, there's not much in the way of cloud cover. By adapting in a couple of different ways. First of all, rather than being the great big 6-foot tall tobacco plants that we think of with these great big, full, lush, oily leaves, the tobacco plant grows to be about 2.5 to 3 feet tall. And rather than having 18 to 24 leaves on the plant, it will be covered in around 100 leaves, and they're very small. So each leaf is offering shade to the leaf beside it and below it as the earth rotates and the direction of the sun moves across the sky. So tiny little leaves, because they can survive for a short period of time with the direct sun contact that they're getting, versus a great big leaf that would basically scorch in a day. The tobacco contains a higher quantity of oil than you typically see in tobaccos, and that oil basically works as like suntan lotion. And rather than putting its energy into producing a big, tall plant, it ends up with this sort of oily, low nicotine, moderate sugar, very aromatic kind of smoke that it provides. So it reminds me of tea. Reminds me of lemon. It reminds me a little bit of the taste of curry. There's sort of a funk quality that high quality Virginia has, and high quality Oriental has, and it's produced by that high quality oil that the tobacco contains. So it's really, really interesting stuff, and I love to smoke it straight. I think it's very, very pleasant. I could smoke it all day, but it pairs beautifully with Virginia, which it really draws on the sweet character and the tangy character that the Oriental has, but it really benefits from some of the more olfactory sensation that you get, the curry and the cinnamon and the cardamom kind of notes that it has. And then it also plays really nicely with Latakia. Latakia is an Oriental tobacco that has been fire cured for months, and that smoking fire curing process adds on top of the flavor of the Oriental this really dense, sooty, aromatic smoke. It's softwood, it's kind of piney, So the next thing that we're going to smoke here, take one little tiny puff, and I didn't think about emptying my pipe out. Somebody thought to bring an ashtray, which is awesome. Thank you. The next thing we're going to smoke
like this
is
straight.
the Virginia, and then we will transition to Latakia, because Latakia has the most prominent flavor.
Jeremy, what type of Oriental is this?
This is Basma and Izmir.
Okay.
So Izmir grown in Turkey,
Yeah.
and Basma grown in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
So the next tobacco that we're going
Good
to pass
stuff.
around is these Red Virginia, Stover Red Virginia. There, I want to make sure that's Stover Red Virginia. I believe it is. Yep. One going that way, one going that way. I'm going to smoke this in the same pipe as I smoked the Oriental, because again, Oriental won't leave a ghost behind.
You let us have some.
Everybody smoked straight Virginia before?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a Eastern North Carolina Red Virginia. Moderate sugar content on
Keep
this.
smoking this Oriental.
Pretty full
Keep
nicotine.
smoking this Oriental. I like it.
Sugar content is about 10%. Darker Virginias come from upper stalk position on the tobacco plant, because that's basically where you have the most saturation of sun. That's also where the tobacco plant is sending most of its energy and most of its resources, pushing to grow the plant higher and higher, and eventually to produce flower and to ultimately reproduce. So as the nicotine saturates the plant, the farmer will allow the plants to develop flowers, but it doesn't want the plants to develop seeds, because if it develops seeds, all your nicotine basically ends up in the seed. So top the plant, cut off the flower, and that way you end up with nicotine saturation. Usually upper stalk has more nicotine, middle stalk has moderate nicotine, lower stalk has nearly none. Flavor, from the middle stalk position, you get brighter tobacco, you get higher sugar, lower nicotine, you have sort of a thinner body. Your red Virginias and mahogany Virginias come from your upper stalk, and that is because they get more sun, they have more nicotine, so they have less sugar, but they are more oily and they are more rich, and they're an overall stronger tobacco. So not so sweet, a little sweet, a hint of sweet.
Just for the smell-o-vision effect, it smells really good.
The nicotine causes a little bit of spice on your tongue, but underneath it, you know, a little bit of a tart quality. Almost, to me, it reminds me a little bit of apple cider vinegar. This is natural tobacco. We don't add vinegar to any of our blends. You can definitely accentuate that by adding vanilla or adding vinegar, but this is all unadulterated. And the stoving, anybody notice kind of a roasted peanut taste? There's a little bit of a burnt edge to this, a toasted edge, and it reminds me of roasted peanuts.
It's a little bit more like the can to me, but
The can, okay? Sure. It's a nutty element for sure. So, thoughts so far on flavors that you're experiencing from this tobacco and from what we smoked before?
I'm liking the straight Oriental.
Yeah.
Straight Oriental is delightful, isn't it?
It's really good.
It's really quite nice. Flavor comparisons between the two?
I like this one because it's from down home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The first one. Yeah, but he which is this
This is red.
That is Oriental.
Get some of the Oriental?
Which one's a straight
Straight Virginia?
The Oriental.
Oh, the Oriental. One here.
Is it?
There's one over
I
there.
didn't get a hold of that Virginia.
That is Oriental.
Yeah. Sure, if nobody's using it.
Is this the
These
Virginia?
are Virginia.
This one is Virginia?
Yeah, so Oriental is the predominant flavor I get out of that red stag.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And it is the same Oriental component in Red Stag, higher proportion than is used in Star of the East.
Nothing brings out pipe smokers like free tobacco.
Yeah.
Right in a match.
So are we ready to transition to another component? You guys still enjoying the Red Virginia?
Still joining the Red Virginia.
Yeah.
It smells amazing. The Red Virginia is just.
It does smell
It's
really
got
nice
a
in
note
here.
that is just beautiful.
All right, well, while you guys are enjoying that, I'm going to go ahead and start putting together this blend.
Keep one down there.
What's that?
Magic is gonna happen.
Yes. I'm going to start off with the Latakia, which is the next thing that we'll smoke. But it's the thing that makes up the largest portion of this blend. Whenever I'm blending,
This one, this one.
I want to create a nice, even, flat layer of the component that makes up the biggest portion of the blend. This is just like making dough or making a sauce. You want to start off with the thing that is the largest volume and then add your smaller ingredients in on top so that it's easy to get a consistent mix. The next thing that I'm going to add is stove red.
Almost had it.
Yes. The first blend we were was the Oriental, then it's the Stove Red Virginia.
He's doing layers. So a lot of keys at the bottom.
Oh, the lime keys at the
I
bottom.
love it.
Jeremy, a lot of times with the straight Virginia, I get some, a little bit of tongue bite, a little bit of tingle. What causes that?
It's the sugar and the acidity of that tobacco.
I feel like if this was a sandwich, this would be the bread. That's the meat, and that's the sauce. For all the sugar, I mean, it's not getting sweet.
Kind of feeling how much
If we like it, we think
That's normal with Virginians.
Yeah,
And then kind of just keep my fingers nice and loose
I get with leftovers.
and gently work the tobacco together so that I don't break anything up.
Somebody give me a box.
Yeah, I want to preserve the cut,
Straight line key.
preserve the consistency.
No, that's what this is. No, I'm fine.
Gotta get the proportion. Right, yeah, actually I have.
Whatever you like.
Yeah,
I
not like a
added
food
moisture to
scale.
this tobacco already so that it would smoke a little easier.
What type of musk do you use? Just regular water or distilled or what?
I gotta be able to come and go though.
So in large quantity, like in a large batch, we actually just fill up a jug with the quantity that we need and pour a little bit on, slowly work it through. With this, I mean, it was just like spritzing.
You blend all this by hand like that at the factory?
Yes, sir. Everything that Cornell and Neal produces is literally blended by hand.
How big of a tub are you using when you do it?
We have 14 now blending tables that are 8 feet long and just about as broad as this table. They stand about this high and they're this deep. So it's easy for me to work tobacco this way. And we can do about 80 pounds on a table. So we can produce anywhere from 5 to 25 blends in a day, depending on the volume that we're dealing with.
But it's just your magic hands.
No, sir. So we have 3 production blenders now.
They work all in the same tub at the same time?
No. As I said, we have 14 different stations, blending stations. So we've got things that are being blended over here and then allowed to air dry for a little bit. and that guy can go and work on another batch somewhere else. He can either be doing multiple batches of one large thing that we're producing, like when we have Carolina Red Flake, all 14 tables are going to be covered with 80-pound batches of the Carolina Red Flake getting ready to go into the press. So once I've got a nice even mix,
Does it ever feel wrong when you're mixing and you're like, nope, gotta do something else?
the recipes are basically set after I've gotten through all that, so we don't really have to worry with it anymore. The thing that is really tough, actually this lighting is a little tough too, is to tell whether or not I've actually got an even mix. So I'll just spread this back out. Black pop.
Is that helping all?
Say,
Oh,
yeah, there
that's
we go.
great.
Get some light there.
So the quality assurance of the individual tobacco is done before it ever hits this.
That's
Like,
right.
you're not gonna find like a moldy one.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, it's a good one. No,
You would be sad if you did.
It would definitely be sad. It would definitely be sad. Now, I mean, there are definitely, you know, when you're going through a box of tobacco, sometimes you find things that, okay, this slaughter, this section, there's something wrong with it. But I'm going through those things when we receive them, so that production is not involved.
So the quality assurance is going before the mixture hits the next table.
That's right. That's right.
And so do you,
All the time, the time
when
you're
it hits
working
this point, the mixing point, have you like, I don't know the tool you use, but measure the
It's like that.
moisture
Yeah,
loss?
that just is.
Yes. So the first thing that we do is the measurement, the quantity of moisture that we need for a blend is, well, the first thing is the recipe. So the quantity of tobacco that you're making, the recipe will tell you how much moisture actually. And then we have a moisture meter handheld tool that has 2 tines in it, and basically hold it, you know, it tells you percentage of moisture, getting 2 or 3 readings.
So
As
it's
long
like
as
the
that's
cigar
fairly
medic.
consistent, you're basically where we shoot for between 18 and 22% moisture. It would be possible for us to be more exact than that, but it would be impossible for us to keep that exact number throughout the whole process, and 18 to 22% is within a range that we can live with.
Okay.
And when you add moisture, are you adding distilled water? Are you adding sugar water? Or?
We are adding reverse osmosis filtered water, and then we also use a very, very small amount of propylene glycol.
Okay.
So we don't rely on propylene glycol as our primary humectant. You would have tobacco that kind of, to me, tastes and smells a little bit like burning plastic. But a little bit of propylene glycol gives you a moisture that won't immediately leave.
Right.
If I'm in like Arizona and I open a tin of tobacco, I don't have to automatically transfer my tobacco to a jar. It will hold its moisture for some time.
But the tobaccos are cased before they hit this point.
None of these tobaccos are cased.
Okay.
The blend will typically have moisture added at this point. But for the purpose of this blending demonstration, I moisturized them before bringing them.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to tote all that stuff too.
So many questions about moisture.
No, this is great. All right, are we ready to? I'm happy to continue. Yes, please. So I think I'm all done. Are we ready to try straight Latakia? Anybody?
Yes,
I
it's
have
looking
some
forward to
yeah.
all day.
And then we'll have this.
I'm passing the Latakia on down now. Latakia?
This is done now.
Would you like some straight Latakia? Yeah.
Hi, Jason.
Got it. There you go. Nice. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
I have some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on our conversation.
Try
But it's still
Try it by itself.
Now you got some German straight.
more going on. And you can see like black tobacco.
Yeah.
So when you make the flake version of that, then what happens?
So this is this is kind of version of the exact same tobacco to go up the plate. So we would just use the strip. So it's had the midrib removed, but that's basically. So it's the same process. Whole leaf latakia, whole leaf strip wrap. Because it's still stowed the same way and everything. And so you start with latakia, build it the way you do, and then tobacco gets weighed out into 8-time portions, fed into a swing press. It's an old 1930s-ish Robert Legg swing press for tobacco. It's about this big, and it's got a chamber that you can put tobacco in it, and then it rotates, and there's a piston in it that exerts the pressure. And when it rotates, you've got another chamber that's available that you can either empty of what was pressed in it, or you can add.
Interesting, sounds like.
So whatever is pressing here, you've got another working space, and then that rotates. You can remove what was pressed, and you can press the next.
And you don't have to do it, it just moves around you? That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's right.
So is your mixing technique different between the shreds and the leaves?
No, it's pretty much the same. You want loosey-goosey fingers, jazz hands. Because you don't want to. You're dealing with dry tobacco. You don't want to crush it to dust. You want to coax it into mingling.
He has a question.
So now you can buy the individual components through C&D, like straight latakia, straight oriental, straight
Yes,
fruit.
yes, absolutely. So I think they have straight latakia available in bulk back there, and that's from us. We sell straight Perique. We sell straight red Virginia, bright Virginia, white burley, dark burley, black Cavendish, Turkish ribbon, which is the exact same Oriental as this. So all of those are available to someone who's interested in home blending or someone who's just interested
In
in.
bulk or in the tins.
What's that?
You can get those in the tins or that's strictly bulk.
In 2-ounce tins and in bulk. You want from the bottom? I was going to offer everyone from. All right, be my guest.
It's always good having dregs.
Yeah.
But they're not dregs when everything is golden.
Well, it's fair.
It's like you look like garbage.
This was the stuff that I think came through a little more intact.
That's very nice.
What's that? The latakia. How many folks smoking the straight latakia right now? Yeah. First time smoking straight latakia.
First time?
Try it.
What do you
Especially by itself.
What do you notice about
Cake,
it?
that's pretty close.
Is there anything surprising about it?
It's not as strong as I thought it would be.
Now, is that a Cyprian latakia?
Yes, this is Cyprian. I agree with you. It is not nearly as strong as people make it out to be. It's a very pronounced flavor, but it doesn't actually contain very much nicotine.
Strong note, but it's not overbearing like some of the old latakia. And that the Syrian latakia can be very overpowering.
Yes, yeah, it is. Is it surprising at all that the Oriental that we started off with is the base tobacco that this latakia is actually produced from? Like the amount of soot and fire curing, the effect that has on the flavor, I always think that's amazing. It's something totally different. But when you blend them side by side, the Oriental kind of reminds the latakia of its roots, if you will. So yeah, that's pretty much how Star of the East gets made. Now that you've smoked all the components, I would definitely encourage anybody who hasn't or who's interested to help themselves to the finished product here, see how all these things come together and how the flavors work together. Yeah, I hope this has been useful.
So these proportions are Star of the East.
That is Star of the East.
Awesome.
I like the Star of the East flake. I know that. I don't think I've ever had the ribbon. Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
I appreciate